now we expand the band to include everybody that's been here for the last 2 days, and I'd like to thank all of the students because they've played so beautifully for 2 days solid. They've just played fantastically, and I'd really like to thank our visitors from CoMA, who are Natalie and Liz and Chris and Gregory, who's going to speak to you now. So, Gregory Rose.
We are absolutely thrilled to have been invited here, and it's fantastic what Simon's done. It's also fantastic the commitment of these students to doing this music today. It's very important that music today is played, and we have this organisation, CoMA, and I'll ask Chris to say just a few words, if you would, Chris, about CoMA and what it's set up to do. Would you?
Okay, just a couple of words.
Yeah.
Set up by a small group of adult amateur musicians almost 20 years ago now, and at the time, there were some of us at least who were very interested in contemporary music, but much of it, if not most of it, certainly in the last half century of the 20th century, was either technically extremely difficult or required some very unusual forces, often not available to amateur musicians. So the primary purpose of CoMA has been to link up with some of the finest established composers and also lots of young, emerging talent within the UK and further afield, further abroad, in Europe and so on, and ask them to write pieces of music which were entirely in keeping with their kind of thinking about what they want, their musical values, their musical ambitions, and artistic sensibilities, but which were technically within the reach of amateur ensembles. And we've been playing that music now for, as I say, almost 20 years, and in the last few years, although it's adults who sort of got this going, some young people have started playing this, and in particular, most notably, this ensemble that we've become aware of. Very special ensemble, and a great privilege, as Gregory says, to be here this weekend and to work with a slightly larger group than usually meets, I believe. So that's mainly what we're about, and we're pleased to be here, of course, as Gregory said. And we're hoping, out of this weekend, we'll be able to inspire through this ensemble many other young people's orchestras in the UK to take up contemporary music. So it's a real role model, I think, here, and we've said fantastic to be here.
We're going to play 7 pieces, and these are from the CoMA repertoire. I think of the 7, only 2 were known to these young people before this weekend, so they started sight reading these yesterday morning. We start with a piece by Philip Cashian, who is head of composition at the Royal Academy of Music. Now, this piece is called Mechanik and was inspired by a rather amazing piece of sculpture, which is about that big, by the British artist Edoardo Palazzi, who died about 4 years ago, but that's in the permanent exhibition at the Tate Gallery in Liverpool. And it's about that high off the ground, and it's basically a sort of builder's workbench with all the tools all welded into this bench. So it's sort of got bits of chisels sticking out and hammers and things. And it's quite a sort of stark piece of sculpture, and it inspired several composers during a weekend we had about 10 years ago in Liverpool.